Osman, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. You just gave an extremely extensive speech on cybersecurity. Is it your first time to Saudi?
No, actually, I've been in Saudi since 2019. So I'm based here. I'm CEO for ITS Squared, and it's great being here. Thank you.
This year, Saudi has been ranked second globally in terms of the cybersecurity index, and this is for the second time in a row. What do you think that means for the Saudi digital economy?
I think it's a fantastic testimony to the effort being made by the NCA and SAMA and other regulatory bodies that are helping to uplift the nation. But what is important is that we need to make sure we don't become complacent, because the threats are pervasive, they're out there, they're proliferating. So we need to make sure that we ready ourselves and continuously struggle to improve our security posture.
You said something very interesting during your speech that not all threat is malicious. Sometimes it's due to inaccurate configuration.
Yeah.
Can you shed more light on that?
Yeah, so look, unfortunately, obviously, with humans are in most threats that materialize, humans basically are used in one shape or another, either by clicking a malicious link and the like. But what I was referring to in this instance is that the insider threat around misconfiguration. So, for example, you could have a misconfiguration on a firewall that allows traffic inbound that you shouldn't allow, for example, and that opens a threat vector that allows your environment to be compromised. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very well said. There's a lot of talk right now on the internet regarding ransomware, and you mentioned a lot about that during your speech as well. Would you like to talk a little bit about that briefly?
Yeah, the thing about ransomware, obviously ransomware is malware that encrypts your data and then you're held to hostage. And so that's such that, especially for critical industries like the healthcare sector, oil and gas sector, where you can't afford not to continue operations, you're forced to pay the ransomware. So in order to protect against that, there's certain strategies that you can adopt, but fundamentally you should be taking off-site backup so that you're able to recover from that. And over and above that, cyber insurance is good to have as well, so that, God forbid, if you're forced to pay, you're able to get cyber insurance to cover that. But like I said, having backups and tried and tested backups is primary importance for ransomware attacks.
So you mentioned cybersecurity and backups, but do all organizations across different sizes have accessibility at this point towards these measures?
Well, see, unfortunately, what you'll find is we talk about a number of security controls and basic hygiene. The reality is there are a number of organizations that even though they know they should be doing it, because of the pressures that they got in order for various initiatives, sometimes they get left behind. Now, what's good is a number of the regulatory authorities have mandated that you take backups and the like and have backup procedures. But I have seen cases around the world whereby which they're basically they're not in the position that they should be from a backup perspective, unfortunately.
What do you think the collaboration should take place between the public and the private sector, just so the spread of these measures are more across different organizations and they have more accessibility?
Well, I think what's great is the NCA and SAMA do have outreach programs whereby which they do engage with system integrators like ourselves as well. And obviously they have member organizations that they oversee. Now they ultimately are defining regulations for the best interests of those entities that they oversee. The reality is every entity should look at things from a risk perspective. So what are their critical assets? What are the potential threats to their assets? How do you then defend against that? And if they can prioritize that, they'll put them in a far better position in terms of readiness for potential threats.
Cybersecurity is all about being ahead of yourself and predicting. What do you predict will take place in the next 12 years, whether it's in terms of developments or threats?
Well, as you can see, like you have cities like NEOM that are becoming more and more pervasive, smart cities. So that will open up almost a Pandora's box in terms of potential threats that will target such organizations. But in reality, we talk about all these sophisticated type of threats from different threat actors, nation state actors. But the reality is if you're implementing the basic hygiene, as I like to call it, then you will put in yourself like patch management, like having your backups, like making sure that you have multi-factor authentication and the like. That will put you in a far greater place. Like I mentioned, the CIS controls. If you implement the implementation group 1 controls, it'll put you in a very good position. And it doesn't take that much effort. The challenge that I find is a lot of organizations, they get overwhelmed with a number of controls they need to put in place. But if they can prioritize those controls that give them the most bang for their buck, it'll put them in a great place.
Are we going to see you here next year as well?
Absolutely, I'd love to. It's a fantastic conference, great participation from the public and private sector, and it's great to be present. It's my honor.
Amazing. Thank you so much.